Abuse, rape, or trauma are things that happen to people who are victims at that very moment. Child or adult, there's nothing you could have done to prevent the atrocity. But when it's over, the healing must begin.
It gets harder every day.
You have inner beauty. You have inner worth and value. Framing your past as your past and leaving it there will help you to frame your future and lead you to the place where you belong, with a woman's soul restored. Here's Latonia Hendry.
Hello, and welcome to A Woman's Soul Restored. Today is a holiday here in the United States, Memorial Day, where we celebrate those that have lost their lives for this country. Most people celebrate through either doing some kind of event or a cookout or something to commemorate this very important holiday. And as I said in my last podcast, this holiday is important to me in more ways than one, because 51 years today is when my mother lost her life to domestic violence. And you could say that 51 years is a long time to miss someone that you didn't even know, because I was 3 years old. But it's essentially in your memory, even though you don't recall what happened on the date, you know that date is significant. So that's what I want to talk about today, when, as a part of our healing and a part of our process, when the date comes around, because we all can remember that sexual trauma or that domestic violence, the height of it, what date that was, what transpired. Some of us can even remember the time when an event happened to us. So in your healing and in your processing, what happens when that date comes around? You could be in a good place, spiritually, physically, mentally, but when it gets close to that date, something happens. You begin to have thoughts and triggers to what transpired in your life on that significant day for you. This is what I went through leading up to today. And this is what I go through every year leading up to today. And most of the traumatic events that have taken place in my life, as far as when I got raped when I was pregnant with my daughter on St. Patrick's Day, which is another holiday. And I was thinking about that. Most of the things that happened to me as far as with domestic violence situations and the day I was raped and was linked to some type of holiday. I know when me and my daughter's father were together when I was younger, and Christmas was a rough time for us because we didn't have much money. We were young. We had a young daughter. And the least little thing I said, he would snap. Holidays were a trigger for him, I'm assuming, because 4th of July, he would jump on me. Thanksgiving, it was always an occasion or something going on to where I had to tread lightly during specific times. And it got me to thinking last week about the significance of a date or a significance of a block in time in our spectrum, in our memory. Even after we have been healed, when you're approaching that time, something happens. And it might not be anything big, but something does happen to the point where you go through something emotionally, you feel drained, or you may feel like a weight is on you. And even sometimes a day or two after the date, you still feel that consciousness within your subconscious. And it links to a mental state of like an apprehension of knowing that something that happened to you, that anniversary is about to come up. Because we have anniversaries for those things just like we have anniversaries for everything else. The first date, marriage anniversary, just things to signify important aspects of things that have happened to us. It's the same thing with events, traumatic events. We remember that date. We remember. And it can put you in a bad place even if you address it. Sometimes, depending on what you're going through, you're going to feel something. You're going to go through an emotion. You're going to go through you might just want to be by yourself. You might just want to take that day just to focus on you. You might not want to get up that day. However you handle that situation and that date is totally contingent on where are you in your life during that time. I'm in a good place right now. Nothing's really going on. Business is good. But I knew deep down that that date was approaching. And a mother is a significant figure in our lives. And I really get attached to my friends' mothers, that mothers are still living. I call their mothers mom. And we have one of our church ministers. She's older. She's in her 70s. And I call her my mom. I call her Mama Welch. And it's just certain aspects of our lives that we draw into certain types of people. I draw into older people because they're maternal figures. My father was not really a part of my life, so my uncle took that place as being a father figure. He stepped in for his brother's children, even though he had children of his own, but he stepped in to fill that gap for his brothers because from what I could see, none of them really stepped up to the plate to be fathers to their children, and they had multiple children. So as I thought about it and was addressing it in my head and figuring out what can I do different this year, what can make this year different, and the reality is it's a memory, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't have to stress over it. It's not anything that's putting me in a traumatic place. It's just a memory of an event that I don't even remember, but I know that something significant happened that day. So as when Christmas rolls around, as when the 4th of July rolls around, St. Patrick's Day rolls around, and St. Patrick's Day is my daughter's birthday. So that day is very significant because I was raped and had to go into labor 2 months early, and I delivered her, but I had no memories of delivering her because of the circumstances that we were in. She was in distress, and it was just an awful experience. That I remember because I was 16 years old, but the loss of my mother and my twin brothers, I do not remember because I was 3 years old, but I remember the significance of that date. So what do you do when that time rolls around and you know it's coming and you're trying your best to fight whatever feelings that you're having, whatever memories you're trying to push to the side, you're trying to fight it, but then it happens and you get into that space of you don't want to be bothered right now, and it's, just hurry up and let the day go by. And that's kind of what I go through every year. Just let the year go by and let me get to Tuesday and just let's just be done. And sometimes we need to take that moment and just be done. We need to know that it's okay to mourn that day, to mourn that event, because it's something that happened to us. It's something significant. And even if no one else understands, we know that it was something important. We know that it changed us in some aspect. We know. So that's all that matters. We don't have to explain it to anyone. We don't have to justify why we feel the way we do, or why we going through it, or why you taking that day to yourself, and it's been so many years, just be done already. Well, you handle your situations like that, and let me handle mine the way I handle mine. Yes, I love the Lord. Yes, I trust God. And this doesn't mean or take away anything from my relationship with Him. All it is that I am mourning a loss. I am taking the day that changed my life, because sometimes I think, where would my life be if my mother had raised me? What kind of life would I had if she was here? Unfortunately, I'll never know. No one really talked about her. My older sisters, they were going through their own stuff, missing our mother, so they didn't ever tell me how, the type of woman she was, or what she liked, or what she ate, or did she like going places, what type of mother she was. They didn't discuss those types of things with me because they were in their own pain. My grandmother didn't discuss my mother because my mother was her only daughter. So she went through her own pain of losing a daughter and 2 grandsons on that day. And she told me enough to let me know, when I was old enough to realize that my grandmother was not my mother, and she explained what happened to my mother. But she didn't let me know the type of person she was. She didn't let me know what type of daughter she was, how she was as a child. The only thing I have is a picture. And I have an older cousin that lets me know, certain things about my mother. But even with her, because that was her first cousin, my grand aunt and my grandmother, they were sisters. So her mother was my grand aunt. So her and my mom were close. They were first cousins. So sometimes she would tell me some things. She was the one that gave me the picture that I have, that I blew up and made larger so that I could put it with my children's picture and with other family pictures. But it's like, I still have that yearning, and I guess that's why it hurts this time of year, Memorial Day, because I don't have anything to reflect back on. All I know is I lost my mother. So whenever I hear of an event of a domestic violence event, or because a while back I was looking at a popular crime show, that they have to solve the crime within a specific amount of time. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the show, but it's very popular. It comes on A&E. And they had this case where this guy had murdered his girlfriend, and they had to hunt him, and he ended up killing himself before he was recaptured, because he was putting on social media that he would never go back to jail. But when they were interviewing different witnesses that saw what happened, because they had to track some people down because everybody was afraid of this guy, they had a 5-year-old daughter. And this might recollect to some of you all, because some of you all may be crime buffs. I love the reality crime shows. But he's, killed this child's mother in front of her. And he told the little girl, B, your mama, she dead. B, she dead. And B is standing for the female dog. First of all, how could you talk to a child like that? And you murdered her mother. So this child has to grow up with the memory of the knowledge, because she's not going to remember at 5 years old when she's in her 20s or 30s what happened. But that date is going to mean something to her. That date is the date that her father took her mother, and then eventually he took his own life. Stories like that touch me because it resonates with me that this child has to grow up without one parent because of another parent. And I don't know if society looks at it like that this happens a lot. This happened where a male would kill a female, will kill a parent to their children, and then they're either locked up for a long period of time or they end up taking their own lives. What light is shined on that? What happens to those children? I was, I guess, in a good place to where my grandmother took me and my sisters, but that whole transaction with living with her and my step-grandfather after my older sisters graduated and came back to Savannah, that in itself was a traumatic event. And I don't know if it was necessarily the best situation for me to be in, but I don't know what to compare it to. I don't know if foster care would have been better, or if another relative had gotten me, would that have been better? I just don't know the answer to those things. All I know is at 3 years old, and on May 31st, 1970, I lost my mother and my two brothers. And I go through a mourning period, just as I'm sure most of you all go through a mourning period that have suffered some type of loss or some type of traumatic event during a space in time. But I want to let you know today that don't let anyone make you feel any kind of way because you're going through your emotions or your feelings. Now, if it's making you act out, or if it's really messing with you, or putting you in a really bad headspace, then yes, that's something you need to get addressed. But if you're just going through your private emotions and you're mourning, however you're mourning, you go ahead and do what you need to do. That's what I'm doing today. I'm doing what I need to do to get through to tomorrow. And no amount of years is going to take that memory of that or that date away from me. It's just something that this is my reality, as it is many of our realities. And those children that are going through that now, that's their reality, that a parent is gone because of another parent. So this is something I want us to think about, those of us that are living that, or if you know someone, if you know a family that's going through that, and either an aunt has to raise a child that's a product of this type of event, or if a grandparent, another family relative, if it's a way you could help them, if it's a way that you could bond with that child, get that child for a while, if you have children, let them play with your children, just a way to ease that person that has taken on that responsibility of raising a child that has suffered a loss of a parent through the hands of another parent. People that have not gone through that, it's kind of hard to explain what you go through knowing that a parent took a parent, and is, even at this age, even at 54, it's hard to even rationalize what was going on that day when all those events spun into action, and they were working quickly trying to save her and save the babies, and were not able to save anyone. as paramedics, as doctors, this is something that they live through. They don't know the backdrop of the story. All they know is they're trying to save this person. But as family members, they know the backdrop of the story. I saw what my grandmother went through at the loss of her only daughter. No, I was not there in that moment. But as I got older and I realized the story of what happened, and realized that as a woman that she lost her daughter, her only child, at the hands of the child she was raising father, that makes you look at it a little differently when you're thinking about someone raising a child that's a product of a parent that took a parent. What is that person going through at the hand of, if it was their child that was taken, or their sister? You know, people go through their own variant of emotions, as well as the child, as they grow up, as they realize something's different about their situation. Something might be off-putting about their family and what they're experiencing and what they're going through. So I just want to say to any adults that are products of the same thing that I'm a product of, a parent taking a parent, we're all right. We've gotten through it. We have our moments, but we're okay. You will continue to be okay. You will continue to be strong. You will continue to be victorious, because I will continue to be okay and to be strong and be victorious. We just got to go through a date, whatever that date may be. But we're good. We're going to be all right. But don't let nobody make you feel bad about it. You won't even have to talk about it if you don't want to, because that's the good thing about it. Nobody can make you say anything. Nobody can make you feel bad unless you take that on. So don't even take it on. Don't entertain it. Just go through what you got to go through, or go through your emotions, and then just be done with it. So if you would like to send me an email, my email is awomanssoulrestored@gmail.com. The website is www.livelifenow.net. My Facebook page is A Woman's Soul Restored, and my private Facebook, my public Facebook page, my personal profile is Latonia Wiggins Hendry. So I hope this week it helped you shed the light on, I guess, an issue that we hear about but don't really think about, when a parent takes the life of another parent. This is Latonia Hendry with A Woman's Soul Restored, and I will see you all next month, bi-weekly. Be blessed.